Welcome back. Pretty excited for today. I got a couple things I really want to dive into here with Mr. Kevin Rombach. Appreciate you joining me today, big dog.
Thanks for having me.
How long have you been working at Accruity now? It's been over a year?
Just over a year. It was a year at the end of February.
So excited to dive into Kevin's journey with us a little bit more. Kevin is our COO, runs all of fulfillment, operations, troubleshooting, customer success, basically all the world of, making sure our clients at Accruity are happy and successful. Kevin comes from a really renowned background at UPMC, where he really climbed the ranks in corporate America, right? The hospital, it's I don't know, they probably do 50 billion in revenue. What do they do?
They're not quite 50, but probably about 35 right now.
35 billion top line revenue.
Yeah.
So Kevin had moved around in there all these years. Funny story. Maybe we dive into that first. Well, relationships. I think they really matter. Kevin and I went to college together. Kevin was actually my college quarterback. And we were never like best friends in any way, shape, or form in college, but we always had a mutual respect for each other. Quite frankly, I was just better than him at everything. So he probably secretly hated me.
That could be true. Yeah. I mean, wasn't always smooth sailing with us, right?
I'd never forget the intramural. So Kev played for the football guys.
Yeah.
And I played for the knockoff.
I wouldn't say knockoff. You guys were unbelievably athletic. It was a local set of athletes from high school.
Yeah, we were all high school stars.
Yeah, don't act like you were like slumming it.
For some reason, I got put on a floor with all of like my best friends in college, and we all were just really athletic. So we formed our own team and played the football guys. And I'll never forget the fist fight in the middle of AJ Palumba Center Court.
A lot of scrappy individuals who immaturely had a chip on their shoulder.
Yeah. So 15, 20 years later, I think over the years I had recruited him a couple of times to figure out if he could come work for me. Never really was a position or good timing for you. But you kind of got the itch from a couple, probably 3 years, once a year we'd have a coffee and, I'd try to recruit you, and there just never was really a fit. And finally, with what we were building at Accruity, there was enough interest on your end when we had a coffee meeting for you to want to pursue it a little bit more. We had more conversations. So let's start there, man. Like a guy that was a $35 billion top line company where you were pretty high up from a standpoint of in the finance and the accounting department and back office. You had been there. How long were you there? 15 years maybe?
Yeah, just almost 15 years.
15 years climbing the ranks. And so, coming to Accruity, which was a startup company, serving entrepreneurs, no idea what you're going to get into. Let's start with like the mental framework of how in the hell you made that decision to do it. A lot of the people that follow me and listen to me are people that are trying to, want to go out and be an entrepreneur, want to go leave their corporate miserable jobs. You certainly didn't go out and become an entrepreneur, but you did in a lot of ways, way more of an entrepreneur than in corporate at UPMC. So like, what is the framework there and how you made the decision?
Yeah, I mean, a lot more entrepreneurial than I would even have thought, right? Or, and just kind of that appreciation I've kind of had over the year. But the thought, and let it go on the record, I was not an easy person. You definitely recruited me hard. And over those times, I always left conversations feeling good about having, what you were doing. There are different times where I'm like, oh, shit, maybe I should have done that, right? So that always kind of sat with me. And then when we had that kind of conversation about Accruity and what, we were building, or what at that time, you and Jeff were kind of had the vision of, it stuck with me. And I think a lot of our conversations were wrapped around, what the potential is and what we could do. And in my mind, I've always been of the mindset, no matter what I'm doing, of kind of like, if you bet on yourself and put in the work and show up, like, that can have consistent or good results, great results. And so I love that thought of actually being a change agent with a company, and not just, I really have enjoyed my time at UPMC when I was there, but what you do doesn't always move the needle. Mm-hmm. And here I was going to make myself uncomfortable and put myself in positions I've never been. And it's only up to me and the people around me to figure out how to make that work.
Why did you feel like it was the right time to put yourself in a position you've never been of uncomfortableness? Because most people go their whole lives never actually doing that, right? And so I get on coaching calls all the time where someone's done enough. They're still, they're actively flipping homes, for instance, and they're still not willing to commit to leaving their job or making a big change because they're scared or they're comfortable. They've got bills to pay, whatever it is.
Right.
How did you get yourself over that hump?
Yeah, I mean, the timing was honestly terrible. There's no, every stereotype has some truth to it, and there's no perfect time to do it. I mean, I look back and for me, I had at that point, 2 girls under 3 years old, and now I have 3 girls that are 4 and under. It was chaos at home. My wife works and has a very good and challenging job. So time wasn't there, right? It's not like I had time to, because when anybody takes on something new, whether it be a flip or any new hobby, right? The only way you get better at it is by dedicating time. And so it was a big conversation, with my wife and, a lot of conversations with you, and kind of deep down, I was like, if I don't do this, I'm going to regret it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what flipped the switch with me. I had a lot of hard kind of introspective thoughts about like, how does this end? If it's successful, what does it look like? If I fail, what does it look like? And I think at the end of the day, no matter if I become successful from this as we continue to go, or if I fail, I can look back and say, I don't regret my decision.
Yeah.
And that was the most important thing to me.
It's funny to sit here and listen to you say that, because I tell everybody, anybody that ever listens to me always hears me say fear and ego are the 2 biggest problems in society.
It's true.
You literally just touched on both of them to a T, around the ego side of regret and the fear side of regret. Like the ego side being, I'm going to go there. I'm not going to know what, like, it's such a change. I don't know.
Yeah.
Am I willing to do that? Well, I got to punch my ego in the head in order to be willing to do that, because my ego is, I'm pretty high up in a good company that pays well. I'm well known and it is safe. Right. So I've got to get rid of that from an ego. But then you take the fear side of it of, yes, it's something totally unknown. And it is scary as all hell. Are you willing to go above and beyond both fear and ego in order to do that? And to your point, what you're basically saying is you would have regretted it if you didn't, and you knew that.
Yeah.
Right. And I think for me, it's great understanding, because you knew what you were already leaving behind. Mm-hmm. And I think what happens and why people don't make those decisions is because they don't actually reflect on it, of like, it's not that bad or it's not that good.
Right.
One of the two, and I can go get it back. I tell everybody that. Like, if it didn't work out for you,
right,
odds are you probably could have went back and worked at UPMC, or went back and found a job at a big corporate America in corporate America similar to what you were doing.
Right.
And I'm imagining it as part of all the decision making that went through your head. Did it? Of like, if this all fails and burns and goes to the ground, or I made this huge mistake, what is the ultimate consequence coming back to?
Yeah, and 100% that was a big part of it. And I actually, one big reason why I said yes was I realized that I actually will probably be better for it. Because like, I bring back that uncomfortable part. Like when you're being put into situations you've never been into, you're forced to learn. You're forced to challenge yourself to do the work that needs to be done to be successful. And if you become complacent in anything in life, right, personal, professional, you're not going to get great results.
Yeah.
And so I hung my hat on that and said, okay, like I can always go back and get a job, and I can go into an interview and look somebody in the eye and said, I did this, this, and this, and help build something from nothing, or this chaotic time, we solved it. Yeah. Right. And those are kind of, tools in your toolbox that you continue to add along your way. That's kind of what helped me make that decision. Yeah.
It's funny too, right? For me, first and foremost, I talk about this all the time. Everything is sales. And so obviously for months on end, I was selling you in a lot of ways, right? Creative conversations around what you're getting yourself into is sales at the end of the day, right? Is meaning I have to spin things so that you see the positive, exciting side of it and not the scary, risky side of it, right?
Right.
Said another way, I've got to convince you to see what maybe you're not seeing and why it would be amazing for you. Now, what always comes with all of that is they have to still come in and execute and do all of the things that they need to do. And this specific role was very unique in that you had to really understand accounting and fulfillment of the things we were doing, plus have the balls to be willing to take this risk and know, like for me, I knew you were coming in a totally different world. It was going to take a while.
Yeah.
Right. But it was like, I needed someone that had the mentality. Like, so I recruit athletes a lot because athletes go through the competitive side of wanting to win and do whatever it takes to win. And oftentimes you got to put yourself in extremely uncomfortable situations in order to accomplish something. As a college quarterback, obviously you had to put yourself through ridiculous amounts of studying film and workouts and all that. Like you've got to push yourself beyond comfortability.
Right.
And so I looked for that. I knew year one for you was going to be incredibly challenging for a lot of ways, right? Because you're coming to a new way to work We work differently here. I think you could probably be the first to attest to that, on top of learning how to serve a client. Just a lot of different things you were coming into. So like, let's go to that for a minute of like, once you've decided to make the decision and you pull the trigger and you go do something where you know you're about to push yourself outside of your comfort zone that you've been in for a very long time, and there's no real foreseeable end to that. And there still isn't for you, I would imagine. No. Give us a peek inside of how we think, how you're thinking. Like, what was that like? What is it like still to this day? Like, it's a different world that you're living now, man, is it not?
It is. It really is. I think the first kind of oh shit moment that I had was, and you always preach kind of take massive action, right? And that's even in the accounting world, and when we're trying to do this business and build this business, it's taking massive action. And I was probably a little jaded coming from a corporate world where it's very hard to take massive action, right? There's so much red tape even just to kind of push initiatives through, and particularly politically, if you're dealing with how it's going to impact the other side of the world and what we did. So
it's all corporate America, yes. Just not where he was.
No, it's true. We love UPMC. It's true because, it is all corporate America. And I don't want to sound harsh. You have to worry about the fallout of other people's feelings and pride, right? Pride or fear and ego is what you said, right? And coming here, a big part of how we survive is taking that massive action, because you are fully invested in creating a product that is going to serve your customers well and add a ton of value. And it doesn't really exist in a world where, like right now, everybody's doing it. You have kind of ordinary bookkeepers, or you have people that love to use the term fractional CFO. But with entrepreneurs, it's different, and you want to be able to kind of connect numbers to how they live their lives every day and the kind of the future, and be prospective. So a lot of hard work has gone into just not being afraid to figure things out. And if you fail, learn from that, right? Yeah. Why didn't it work? And that was tough.
What do you think is the biggest thing you've learned? Maybe two things, business-wise and personally, about yourself specifically over the last 12 months being
Business-wise, I would say it's a really good question.
On the spot, that's what we do here.
Yeah. Business-wise is how to be thoughtful when taking massive action. Don't just do it to do it. It's great to be a visionary, but when you're also managing people, they don't always see your vision, right? And to steal something from Jeff is like, we've got to make sure everybody sees that vision on top of the hill, but not everybody sees it the same way. So if you can't lead or help educate those people in the why, then your vision's not going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
And so you have to take massive action, but you have to get the people to believe in what you're doing and follow you with that. And that's why you have a mission and a vision, right? You can't just tell people we're going to do this and expect them to do it, because not everybody thinks that way. Everybody's kind of wired a little differently. So the thoughtfulness around that has become really prevalent to kind of how we can be successful and kind of rolling out different things as we're trying to become better.
And I think the biggest difference of that and that learning is so spot on in the simple fact of when you're in big corporate America, and again, there's nothing wrong with it, but you don't have to sell other people on what the work is that you're trying to do. It's like, you got to do it because the process has been there for 20 years and it is what it is. We're processing payments, or we're, this is the close end process. This is the Excel file we fill out every single month based on this information we get. And you just kind of do that. And it's like, this is what our job is. And then when you come to the entrepreneurial world, it's like, hey, we're making things every time. We're recreating things and we're learning as we go. And people need to be bought in as to why we were wrong, or why we had to go back and redo this, or why we're doing these things for these customers. And to your point, you have to be able to consistently sell.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, that's why a lot of people go back to everything as selling. Now, we're not selling our employees. That's not what we're doing literally, but figuratively. And from an understanding of if our employees want to do great work, it's like Jake sitting here. If you don't understand the vision of why we're doing this podcast, he's not going to be as good at his job at producing it. He's just not. He has to understand the vision of why we're doing this and what we're doing and why and the outcome of what it is that we want. And then he's not bought in, but he's way more simply bought in to want to do great at his job in order to help everyone achieve the outcome that we have. And that is incredibly difficult at times, particularly if you don't know it. And I think at times at Accruity over the last 3 years as a new growing company, there was things we just didn't know and we had to figure out and solve, and different disconnects of people, who's in charge, who's doing what do these customers want, what is our actual service and product. When you have those moving pieces, it's even harder to then push that down and make sure everybody understands exactly what that is.
Yeah, and we still are figuring that out, right? What makes it tough is you have clients that, the standard isn't the standard. So a Tomlinism in an opposite way of like, these people are very driven and successful, but they don't always have a process. And if you think about numbers and accounting, like the way you find efficiencies, the way you become effective is having a process in place.
Yeah. So. And it's frustrating, right? It's like for us, it's just factual. Every one of our customers out there, I'm speaking to you directly right now when I say, sometimes it's very difficult to work with entrepreneurs because what is actually important in their back office, they don't know or understand or even care.
Right. Yeah.
And so they're hiring us in a lot of ways to care for them, but they're not willing to give us the grace of caring for them and the time that it takes to build what it is that we think is important that they have based on our experience of doing this.
Yeah.
And that sometimes can create a disconnect. And you hear from me all of the time, hey, team, ops, team, fulfillment, team, you can do the greatest accounting in the world for these clients. But if they're not understanding it or you're not talking to them and showing it to them and communicating with them, it literally is for no reason. And so, yes, we need to do that work always. However, we need to also be able to communicate it to them, the importance of it and why we're doing it and how they can understand it better. And that part is significantly harder for us as a company because we're accountants.
Yeah.
We're not as good at communication. It's just a fact. And our clients want the price of accounting. Our clients don't want to pay for the price of being communicationists and being therapists at the end of the day, right? When it comes, because oftentimes they see their numbers, they're nowhere near what they thought they were going to be. Certainly it's, proprietary and exclusive to them. It's not like we're out telling the world, but they see this and they're embarrassed and they want to make certain decisions, but they're not willing to take it all the way to fully understand, to pay for the importance of those communications so we can help them get them out of those holes or whatever it is. That creates a disconnect, which again, I go back to saying we have to be able to communicate significantly better with our clients, regardless of how good the accounting is. Now, certainly we're putting in way more automations and our fulfillment has completely transformed over the last 12 months, and a lot of thanks to you and the hard work you've put in and the team has put in to really start to understand what it is we needed to deliver. It's just one of those things where you got to continue to evolve and change is forever. And so just to finalize the thought around what you were saying, that's why the vision and the mission and the core values are so incredibly important to every business, because if everyone believes in those and sees it and feels it and has that, when those changes are occurring because the customer is making us adapt to serve them, which is our job of serving our clients, we're not as upset.
Yeah.
Because of vision and our mission and our values and our understanding of who it is that we are and where it is that we're trying to go and how it is that we're trying to help our customers allows us to feel better about the change and the desire to improve for them.
Yeah. And when you talk about core values, you have core values at a big company, but I think sometimes because you're so big, it's hard to resonate with them. Or like, what does that mean for me? Right.
Yeah.
But when I shifted here, I wasn't a full believer in core values because they didn't feel like they impacted me. But then I started.
And there's also, 60,000 people that have to follow them. Well, it's really hard to get 60,000 people to live the same core same core values in life.
Yeah, exactly. And then I come into this world and start working with you and kind of how you approach your personal and professional life in your businesses, of like the importance of those core values. And even just being involved in meetings early on, I distinctly remember spending an enormous amount of time talking through core values. And probably the first phase of that was like, what are we doing here? Like, we got work to do. And I've kind of come full circle, and I came pretty quick of like, no, if I'm going to ask people, or if we are going to ask people to believe in what we're going to do, it can't just be numbers and work. If we're going to have great retention, a good culture, you have to have those values and live by them. So you have to think about that because you need to live by those, right?
You're in a position of the most importance, right? Because you run the entire fulfillment team, and we're a service company. So
right.
Majority of everyone in the company is fulfillment.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean finding core values is easy, but it really has resonated with me, and something I'll take. Yeah, for sure.
So personally,
again, great question. I would say talking about going into that uncomfortable world personally is there's so much out there that you don't know, right?
I love that.
And I think that was the eye opener of like coming into this world and how businesses operate. When you get stuck in kind of whatever lane you're in, you become really good. You become a subject matter expert, right? So then you think you know accounting, you think you know finance, but then there's even just in finance and accounting, there's a whole nother world. And it's the same thing. Any parallel in life is there's so much more out there that you don't know. And the sooner you're able to realize it, the quicker you're able to learn. And I think that's carried on to how you deal with your clients. The worst thing that we can do as a company is show up to a call thinking we know more than the client.
Yeah.
I think there's so much value into just shutting up and listening. And I think that's been a personal thing that I've carried with this is I knew it was going to be a learning curve in the first year plus still, right? But then you get in here and you're like, well, this is business, but it's an entirely different world.
Does that create or do you feel like that created like paralysis by analysis? Because it's like, holy shit, there's so much I don't know and I'm spending too much time learning.
Yeah, early on, 100%. Because
I think I know somebody that may or may not have yelled at you a couple times.
Yeah, for sure. And it's
Kevin, I need you to take more action, buddy.
Yeah, and you just you get paralysis by analysis because you don't want to make the wrong move. You also there's so much that how do you prioritize it? And I know TJ is somebody who distinctly is like a machine with laying out priorities and how to approach things. And I even kind of listen to him and be like, all right, it reminds me, but it reminds me. Yeah. And early on, you're just like, where do I start? Yeah. Where do I start? These all seem important. Right. And it was crazy. Yeah. And it's still not easy, but
what's changed? Yeah. I mean, that's the part that I knew would take time. Right. And so it was like, I've got to have some grace along the way when you're bringing somebody in of your caliber from corporate that is so used to a certain way and so used to bureaucracy. Yeah. No offense to corporate. I was in it for 10 years. I just understand it really well. We come from the same world. There's so much bureaucracy, right? And so just action isn't as real. It's not that people work less. In my opinion, it's just I think significantly less gets done because of the situation that people are in corporate America, the bureaucracy that comes with it. And so I knew that would be a large learning curve for you around like, okay, he's going to have to learn a whole new world, how to work with a whole new group of people. He's coming back into servicing clients on top of all of this learning. And I already know he's going to naturally not be willing to take as much action based on uncertainty. Mm-hmm. The willingness to go make mistakes and take massive action while being uncertain is a very difficult thing to do. Right. You aren't going to do it for yourself where you can get over making mistakes. You are doing it for other people. And so it adds additional layer of, I don't want to let these people down. Right. Yeah, right? Exactly. And so you have all of those things that entrepreneurs have, plus the added layer of, I don't want to let them down. Mm-hmm. When I went out on my own, it's like, it's me and my wife. Well, my wife at the time, if I fail, no problem. I just go back to another job. I'm only letting myself down. Or here, you're letting everybody else down, which was 6 months of interview process. I'm like, all right, I'm in. Yeah. So there's that added risk there. So I did give you grace, probably not enough grace. I don't know how I did, but I did have a feeling of the time. And I don't even think you did a bad job. That's not even what I'm saying. I'm just saying I knew coming in you were going to have paralysis by analysis because there was so much going on. We were in a world of flux. But my question to you is maybe more specifically to that, how different is it serving an entrepreneur compared to serving someone else inside of an accounting business, accounting world, serving controllers, serving whoever? It's a different world. How do you feel that, what have you learned or what's that like to you, realizing oh shit, these people think differently? Yeah, I think in the old world, there's structure. There's always this structure. So that's how you operate under the structure, even to the point of making this change. I could have said personally is wearing a hat to work, right? I wore a suit and tie, and I was pretty provocative when I stopped wearing a tie every day, right? I was like, whoa, okay, I'm getting on meetings without a tie. Stepping into the entrepreneurial world, I think is you have to really understand where they're coming from. I think that's a super important thing. I continue to harp on the team of understanding these are people that if they're getting on the phone with you or you're getting on a call with them, we have to be prepared to add value to their life because they're already trying to think 10 steps ahead. And some of our value proposition is how you've done in the past. So if you can't connect that with their next 10 steps, they're going to hate getting on that call with you. And that's hard, right? Because
You want to show.
They're going to feel like you're wasting their time. Entrepreneurs naturally value their time significantly more than others because of the way that they have to think, of which they have to go create on their own.
And then I think the other side of that, right, is we actually probably need to continue to be more assertive into their lives in a way of like, hey, you're paying for this, so show up onto the meeting and we're going to add value, but like we need you to be dialed in too.
Yeah.
Or this is a relationship. So like we need things from you, get it to us because then we make you better. And kind of having that I think is going to be, or is important because, there's many times where everybody's so busy. And if you see a client get on their phone while driving, you're like, that's a sign of like, they're doing this because they probably have to, right? No, we want to be able to get on a call and they're sitting down ideally by their computer.
They're excited.
Exactly. So, and how you do that is remind it's like, no, you're paying for this. We're going to deliver that quality that you're paying for, and we're going to add value to your next 10 steps.
Yeah, I love that. What's, obviously continued involvement. What are you most excited about, whether it be personally or professionally, looking forward to the rest of 2026 on your end?
I just said this to Alex this morning, actually. I was like, I feel as a company, we've gotten a lot of momentum that we're at the point now where, and even just kind of the different departments we operate, we're starting to work smarter, not harder. And it's taken a long time to get there, but, whether it be on the ops side, being on the sales side, or, where you were this week, right, is like, we're strategic about how we're working, and that momentum is starting to stack up. Those chips are starting to stack up. We are nowhere near where we need to be, but it's an exciting feeling of like, if we keep doing this or, do this, it's going to kind of add up.
Starting to see some of the new fresh deliverable packages.
Yep.
I mean, they're really good.
Yeah.
And some of the work we're doing behind the scenes, it's making it significant. It's not 7 weeks per client to get to one deliverable for them, right? We're able to start to really get these things dialed in to give them real, true, amazing value.
Yes, 100%.
I can see it too. No, I love that. We started it on the last episode, so we're going to start carrying and see how it goes. But we give the guest, if I have a guest, the opportunity to ask me something that they think that I could give value, whether it be to you or to the people that are tuning in to hang out with us here, a question that I can answer for them. Do you have anything good for me?
Whoa, I wish I would have prepped for this one.
No prepping. We don't prep.
All right.
So people are going to eventually start prepping for this question because they're going to start watching.
That's true. As Casey was starting and you would go back and talk to him, what would you tell him? And, what would you do differently?
Yeah, I would tell myself focus is a superpower, I think would be the first thing. I say that out loud a lot. I've said it over the years, but I don't think I've ever believed it. And if I'd have known that day one, I think even more so it would have been better. I got good early on at convincing myself to not have an ego. More than fear. I was able to eliminate fear quick because I didn't have anything and it didn't matter. But the ego side of it was, I'm still working on it. Mm-hmm. I think everybody should work on it. And so I talk about it a lot. A lot of me talking about it is to also continue to tell myself, get rid of the ego, right? Stop making decisions based on ego. So I think telling myself that earlier would have been good as well. And then I think the other thing, quite frankly, for me, straight up business. I mean, we built a huge portfolio early on, and I've went from the standpoint of scale no matter what. And I think my answer to that would have been a little bit different, like tactically in operations around make sure there's enough money there before you overhire, right? Make sure you understand market awareness. Make sure like when COVID hit, post-COVID, it was rising, rates doubled. We just weren't reacting fast enough. I used to always say the only thing we should get used to is change, which I still believe, but we also didn't change fast enough, which is crazy. Yeah. We needed to move and pivot and change faster. And so I think those are a couple things that I would tell myself then. And I'd also probably tell myself, enjoy it more, because at the end of the day, no one's ever got off this planet. And so it's like, what are we doing along the way, and make sure we're enjoying it. So I just care so much that I think I lose the happy side of it sometimes. And I just grind and I push myself. And, those first 3-4 years, it was hell.
Right.
It was hell. And I did not find time ever to enjoy it.
Yeah.
And so I think for me, that was it. Enjoy it more along the way, whatever you're doing, and push yourself, right? Create every day to put yourself in uncomfortable shoes and try to enjoy it more than you do in the day-to-day of what's happening, right? Because we can look back and say, I had a great year. But then if we reflect on the day-to-day, did we actually have great days all of the time, right? And when you're grinding and you're pushing yourself and it's really, really hard, it's hard to. Think about your past year.
Yeah.
Like it's been very hard.
Yeah.
Could you have enjoyed it more if you had been focusing on enjoying it more?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
We love, you're a competitor, I'm a competitor. We want to win at all costs, and therefore we push ourselves at all costs, and we enjoy competition. And this is a way for us athletes to be competitive for the rest of our lives. But reflect on it more, right? Like when you play a football game on a Saturday, that Saturday night, like you go out partying and you enjoy the game.
Yeah.
You reflect on it.
Right.
That was so much fun. Remember that one play, remember this.
Yeah.
You don't do that as much in
And
business.
It lives with you, right? Like there's things you still visually remember, and even if they're small wins, you gotta celebrate them because it took a lot of work to get there.
Yeah.
It still does. And
that's probably you summed it up for me. It's like celebrate the wins more. Is probably what I would tell myself from 7 years. As you're going, celebrate the wins more for sure. Right. Because we say that celebrate the wins more along the way, because what's the point if you're not going to?
Yeah. It's
like,
great.
why are you even doing it if you're not going to enjoy it along the way?
I mean, that's so true with business and life. And
that's what TJ says, right? The journey is the destination.
Yeah.
And I always say the same thing. It's just I didn't know that I believed it, right? Which is like, I'm not going after retirement on a beach. What I'm going after is enjoying myself chasing the retirement on the beach. The chase is what creates the happiness.
Right.
And so I forever want to be chasing whatever it is that creates happiness for me. That's what creates happiness.
Yeah. And that's
so
hard.
Enjoy it.
That's hard because it can shift. And I mean,
well, that, and I think the other big factor that goes into it is unfortunately or fortunately that what creates happiness is people, relationships.
Yeah.
For better or for worse, you can't always control the other side. And that's why I think humans have happiness from relationships, because you can't. And so you have to figure out a way to create happiness from this relationship, which is like, I tell people all the time, I love scaling businesses way more than I love buying real estate, because I know what the real estate's going to do within a certain standard deviation. But people, the past year, your development over the past year, like that excites me, right? Human development of like, man, we're making the world a better place. That's cool. If you left here tomorrow, awesome. I hope you go find a happy life. We'll stay friends forever. Like all those things. But at the same time, like in the business world, you've gotten significantly better. And so that upside, as humans living life together, like it's just so awesome to see and feel and want to enjoy more. And I just think we don't do that enough. So that's probably what I would tell myself 7 years ago.
It's a great answer.
And take more action.
Yeah. Take more action.
I don't know if I could. I've taken quite a bit of action, but it's probably all. I would continue to tell myself more of that.
Right. Never perfect. Just
Never perfect. Action. Appreciate having you, bro.
All right. Thanks, man.
That's it. We'll catch you next time. Jake, edit us up, chop it up. Appreciate you, brother.
Thanks, Jake.